When you think about the word finance, what kind of things come to mind? Money is usually the most common answer I see to this question. Banks come to mind too, as well as Wall Street and stock trading. And then there's real estate. All of these are components of finance, but let's come up with a more broad and general description. Finance is all about the allocation of funds. Let's start with some basic definitions. In one of the first days of your first economics class, you probably learned that economics is about understanding how to allocate scarce resources. For example, there are a limited number of iPhones that are produced each year. How can we determine who gets one of these iPhones and who doesn't? Another example is your time. Time is a scarce and limited resource. How can an employer get you to allocate some of your limited time to work for them? These are some of the fundamental questions in economics. Well, finance? It's actually just a branch of economics that looks at the same general question. How can we allocate scarce resources? But in finance, we're focused on a particular scarce resource. That's money. Money is obviously a scarce resource. There's only so many dollars out there. So in finance, we're looking at how these dollars are allocated. There are two major allocation functions that need to be addressed. Number one, how can we get money to those who currently have more than they currently need? We'll call these people savers. And how do we get it into the hands of those who currently need money? These are things like businesses, government, and people like you. Scrooge McDuck here is a mega saver. He has all that money in his vault that he's currently not using, except maybe as a swimming pool. At the same time, there's organizations and people that are currently in need of money to accomplish some objectives. The pharmaceutical company Merck, they need some money to do research on a new vaccine. The city of Harrisonburg needs some money to start construction on a new school. You might need some money to purchase a new car. So how can we get money out of Scrooge's vault and into those people's hands? That's the first question. The second allocation function is looking at what organizations do with the money they have or are given. How should they allocate the money? Is it in Merck's best interest to spend their money working on a vaccine? Or should they spend their money on creating other products? Should Apple spend their money developing a new iPhone? Or should they switch to producing the older version for another year? These two allocation functions are going to be at the heart of what we're going to study this semester. I'll do one more example to show how someone like you might be involved in this whole process. Let's say that Sarah gets her first job making $6,000 a month, but she can't spend it all. She spends $1,500 on rent, $1,000 on food, $500 on other stuff. So at the end of the month, she's left with $3,000 unspent. At the same time, Tesla, they announced that they want to construct a $1 billion factory in Austin, Texas. Isn't there some type of mutually beneficial arrangement that Sarah and Tesla can get into? Well, there needs to be some way for Sarah's extra money that she has that's laying around so that it can be put into more productive uses, like producing automobiles. Some questions need to be addressed to make this arrangement happen. First, how are the funds allocated? In addition to Tesla, there are many other organizations and companies in need of money. Does Tesla get Sarah's money, or does it go to somebody else? This is going to be determined by prices, rates of return, interest rates, things like that. Sarah's going to allocate her money to the organization that gives her the best deal. Second, what are the terms of the allocation? If Sarah ends up giving her money to Tesla, what does she get in return? Does she now get a vote on what Tesla does next? What happens if Tesla fails and goes into bankruptcy? These are details that are wrapped up in contracts and how the company is governed. Lastly, what will the money Tesla gets be used for? Should they produce cars or trucks in their new factory in Austin? Which one is going to benefit them the most? This is called project or investment evaluation. Throughout this semester, we're going to spend quite a bit of time addressing each one of these questions, especially the first and third one. So what makes finance interesting? For one, we're making decisions about money. That should be enough right there, given how tightly money is woven into all aspects of our daily lives. But what I think makes finance particularly interesting is that these decisions are made today. And the outcome of these decisions will occur sometime in the future. And in most cases, the future is completely uncertain. But if we use the right tools and understand the situations properly, we can make better, more beneficial financial decisions. So in this class, we're going to focus on financial decision making with an emphasis on the decision making aspect. With each concept or topic that we learn, you should be able to propose some type of real action. Should I buy this stock for $40 or not? Should we build a factory in Mexico or should we build it in Panama? What can I do to reduce the risk of my investments? These are questions you'll be able to answer. While the focus of the course will be on corporate finance and making business-worthy decisions, nearly every topic is going to have a direct application to your own personal finances. Just a quick overview of the topics we'll be covering in this class. We'll learn how to analyze financial statements of businesses to understand their current conditions and translate financial statement information into plain language. By the end of this class, you should be able to describe financial statements to your grandmother. We're going to go over the relationship between time and money and financial mathematics. We'll define risk and examine the relationship between risk and return. We'll learn how stocks and bonds are valued. We'll learn how companies make decisions on what projects to undertake. And finally, we'll look at how companies should attain the money to do those projects. What are some of the questions you'll be able to answer by the end of this course? Well, I have a few samples here. This guy, he won the Iowa lottery. His prize? $25,000 a year for life. Wonderful, right? The problem? He's 92 years old. Can't you just see the excitement in his face? So how much did he really win? If someone were willing to buy that big check from him, how much would it be worth? That's something we'll be able to answer. Another question? You might have heard the term IPO. But what does it mean? Snapchat, they conducted an IPO a few years ago. What does that mean for Snapchat? Why would a company even do an IPO? And you might hear some news about the Federal Reserve taking an action or not taking an action with interest rates. What is the direct connection between the Fed's actions and stock prices? You'll also be able to answer some personal finance questions related to saving for retirement or paying off debt. You'll be able to analyze and compare and contrast business performance. You'll be able to analyze stock prices and risk. And finally, you'll be able to make informed business investment decisions. A great thing about the COB 300 format is that you'll get to directly apply what you're learning to a simulated real-life scenario. That's the business plan. In the business plan, you're going to develop a business concept from scratch, from the ground floor. You'll research and determine all aspects of your proposed business idea, from the company name and their headquarters, to how management of the employees is going to work, to the production and selling process. While working on this project, you'll quickly see that all areas of business, whether we're looking at finance, operations, management, or marketing, all of these are going to interact with each other. On the finance side of this project, you're going to be analyzing and diagnosing the performance of your business. Are you increasing in profitability? How are you managing your costs relative to your competitors? Things of that nature. You'll be able to clearly see how the marketing, management, and operations decisions you make along the way impact what we see on the financial side of things. And I think that's a very important skill to take away. So as you can see, we have quite a bit ahead of us this semester. Hopefully you're as excited as I am to get started.